Hello, everyone. Welcome to this event. This is the announcement of the Lis-el Crowley Vision Award, or we call it the LCVA sometimes to shorten it. I'm Wendy McManus. I'm the co-founder of AMCAW, and I'm the chairperson of this LCVA team. This award was named in memory of Lis-el Crowley, artist, educator, co-founder of AMCAW, and a dear friend. This award celebrates individuals whose generosity, innovation, and dedication reflect the spirit that Lis-el brought to the metal clay community. Each year, the award recognizes someone who exemplifies four core values. They are a spirit of generosity, support for the advancement of metal clay artistry, commitment to the metal clay community, and promotion of the medium beyond its traditional boundaries. And since this award's inception, we've honored Tim McCrate, Terry Kowalczyk, Celie Fago, and Pam East. And today I'm here to welcome this year's honoree to their esteemed ranks. Our LCVA winner began her journey with jewelry at just 13 when she pedaled her bike to a nearby art center to take metalsmithing classes. And that early passion led to apprenticeships and eventually to a Bachelor of Science degree in Fine Arts and Education. And in the decades since, she has grown into a prolific artist. She's a sought after instructor and a tireless advocate for the metal clay medium. Though her first encounter with metal clay was not love at first sight, she persisted. And in the early 2000s, a lot of you weren't around then, but before the days of Facebook and online classes, she found community in a Yahoo group, a Yahoo forum. And this is where artists experimented and failed and succeeded and shared. And that collaborative spirit shaped her approach to teaching and mentorship. And she has since become a guiding light for many artists entering the field. Among the reasons that were cited by those who nominated her for this award, her leadership in founding the Metal Clay and Mixed Media Facebook group, her vibrant and supportive community, that's a vibrant and supportive community for artists at all levels. They talked about her work through the Healing Phoenix Arts program that helps others find healing through creativity, and her consistent generosity, mentorship, and innovation. Her artistic range is formidable. Her portfolio includes kinetic jewelry, whimsical characters, bezel setting, and her signature negative space caning technique. She encourages artists to uncover their own visual language and helps them develop personal, cohesive jewelry lines through her design-focused classes. And the impact reaches well beyond the classroom. Our honorees' work has been published in over 80 regional and national outlets, including Lapidary Journal, Metal Clay Artists Magazine, Metal Clay Today, Best of American Jewelry Artists, and more. She is a recipient of the prestigious Saul Bell Design Award, and she recently earned the AMCAW Innovation Grant for her research on fire and place opals. Through her workshops, exhibitions, publications, and online courses, she has shared her passion for metal clay across the globe. Her voice, always encouraging, always authentic, has helped shape a community that values creativity, kindness, and shared growth. The Lis-el Crowley Vision Award not only honors Lis-el's memory, but also uplifts those who carry her vision forward. And in that spirit, AMCAW celebrates Holly Gage for her extraordinary contributions, her endless curiosity, and her enduring generosity of spirit. Holly, welcome to the Metal Clay Live stage. Come on in.
Hi, Wendy.
Welcome. So Holly and I had the opportunity to talk a few weeks ago about her journey with metal clay, and we've got a video of that interview that we're going to share in a few minutes. But before we go there, I want to give the stage to Holly. I want to give her an opportunity to say a few words and accept this award. So Holly, the Metal Clay Live stage is yours.
I wrote several things, but I don't think I'll be able to remember a thing. So I'm going to wing it here. I am so appreciative of this honor. It feels like a Lifetime Achievement Award or something like that. Um, I really have such a passion for this community, and I've received so much in return. And Metal clay has been a very therapeutic aspect in my life. It's gotten me through a lot of things. My studio here has been a place where I invite people in to take classes. I've developed friendships. Um, it's the place that I get to be creative, but it's also a place of loss. Lots and lots of things falling on the floor while I do the jeweler's prayer to find them. So, your aspirations are not a straight line. There are so many ups and downs along the way, but the steady thread has always been metal clay, always been the way our community in general is so generous, is so sharing, and that culture has wanted me to do more and more and more of that. And I'd be really remiss in not mentioning about 7 years ago at this point, my husband and my son were in a huge explosion. And this community propped us up in such a way that I really thought I'd have to quit what I'm doing. And you all enabled me to come back to it. You supported my family with prayers, with gifts, with notes, with all kinds of things, and I have felt very indebted since. And that fuels some of my reasons for doing free webinars and putting out information and doing blogs and newsletters and things like that. I feel a need to give back to the people that have always supported us. And I guess I'd like to say that we all use our art to calm ourselves from the outside world, which um, I think art has such a therapeutic aspect in it. I try to bring that into my classes instead of just teaching. I want to know people as human beings. I want to know what's going on in their lives. And so we get a chance to connect on multiple levels, on being creative and also on that therapeutic level. And I think to myself, what will I do after this? Because I think we're always saying, what's the next step? What's the next step? Because obviously I've had to pivot several times, either it's a health issue or an explosion or something like that. And I think the next step for me is bringing even more of that therapeutic aspect into my classroom through metal clay, because that's always been just a such a soulful place for me to be at my desk and with my students. And I'm so proud of all of my students. I mean, they really light the fuel to the fire. And, even more important than me getting any award is watching them build a business, start teaching, all of those things. Even some of my students have been involved in AMCAW, and I'm just so proud of that, and so proud of all of the people that have touched my life and allowed me just a little bit of their life. So, thank you so much for everything. Thank you for your confidence and supporting me yet again. Um, I so much appreciate it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Holly. Thank you for being here with us. Y'all, I'm going to go ahead and share this video. It's an interview that Holly and I did together just a few weeks ago, and I hope you'll enjoy this. You'll get to hear a little bit more of her story. Hi, everyone. I'm Wendy McManus. I'm the co-founder of AMCAW, which is the Alliance for Metal Clay Arts Worldwide. And today it is my great honor to speak with Holly Gage, because Holly is the winner of the 2025 Lis-el Crowley Vision Award. Welcome, Holly, and congratulations. We're so excited to have you here.
I'm pretty excited too. Thank you, Wendy.
So before we dive in and learn more about you, I do want to briefly mention Lis-el Crowley, that she's the artist for whom this award was named. Lis-el was the co-founder of AMCAW. She lost a fierce battle with cancer in 2020. So this award was designed to keep Lis-el's legacy alive and to recognize artists in our metal clay community who have made a huge impact. And for 2025, that artist is you, Holly Gage. So tell us about your background. Tell us about how you came to metal clay.
Let me see. My background is I've been making jewelry since I was 13. There was a local art center, and I would bike up there and just I took metalsmithing class, so because metal clay wasn't even invented yet. When I was at a beading store, I saw metal clay sitting there, and at first I thought it was silver toned clay, and I wasn't very interested in polymer clay that was silver toned. But then I did a little bit of research and I was like, okay, this is actually metal. So it was hard to comprehend because at that time there was no such thing as a moldable metal. So I sort of started playing around, and I didn't like it very much initially. And I think it was more my ability with it. It was everything looked very thick and klutzy, and I was like, yeah, I'm not getting a good handle on this. Everybody that was doing it at the time were all nobody knew what they were doing. We were all feeling our way in the dark, teaching each other techniques. And I remember as early on, like Laura Hart and Sealy and all kinds of people were on the forum. And I think that's what led into the generosity of our community because that's how we learned.
I had read that your relationship with metal clay was definitely not love at first sight. So
No, it wasn't. Once I learned how to dry sand and construct, that's when it changed for me, when I could refine things. I remember the first thing I was reading is, oh, you could make prongs and fold them over, and we were firing at such low temperatures, they were breaking. So I think the community wanted to advance what we were doing, and we figured out stronger firing methods and longer firing methods, and that changed everything after that.
excellent. Well, you have just a lovely way, Holly, of expressing deeper meaning in your work. And of course, we look at your pieces, they're beautiful on the surface, but I've come to understand that there always is a deeper message in them. And what can you tell us about that drive, that need that you have to communicate through your art?
Well, I'm dyslexic. And
Mm.
so words don't come as easily flowing for me as they might for some other people. And writing definitely was not it. So this is the way I communicate to the world. And the cool thing about art is nobody can tell you you did it wrong. Nobody's going to take their red marker and circle a word that you spelled wrong. You know what I mean? So this became my way of communicating, and it's been that way ever since I was a kid.
I've noticed in these last few years your focus on helping artists develop their own visual voice and style. And it feels like an extension of that drive to express a deeper meaning through the art. So what have you learned about how to help someone establish their own style?
Well, I developed a couple courses. One is designing with intention, and the next is designing a signature jewelry line. And there's a lot of soul searching that goes into that. So a lot of people are, they start out thinking that they're drawn to this and drawn to that, but not sure why. And part of what we do in the class is really delve into the whys. Like, I don't want to just know that you like this or you dislike that. Why do you like it? Why do you dislike it? What is that message you're trying to release? What are you trying to say? And so I try to help them say it.
That's lovely. And so, speaking of that deeper meaning, I've also noticed in these last few years the work that you've been doing with burn survivors. You help them create silicone molds of their scars and then make jewelry from those molds. How did you come to this work? How did you come to understand this massive impact that this would have for survivors?
completely accidentally. Well, a lot of people in the metal clay community know that my husband and my son are burn survivors. And so I saw one of my husband's burn scars, which was grafted. So they have a particular pattern on it, and it actually looks like reticulation, something that you do in metalsmithing. And I said to him, "Can I mold that?" And the old him would have been like, "No, I don't think so." Meanwhile, he's sitting here with a patch of molded compound on his skin, and I decided to make a piece of jewelry out of it, and he really liked it. So he's not one that wears jewelry, but he wears a bracelet that I gave him and a necklace I gave him. And when we went down to the burn center to get some treatments for him, they recognized what it was immediately.
Ooh.
And so they thought that I had something here. And all you have to do is give me that little spark. I'm like, oh, okay, what can I do? 6 months after his accident, we volunteered at a burn camp for children. And I thought I'm either going to get laughed out the door or they're really going to enjoy it. And I found a book on post-traumatic growth, which is after a major accident, some people go through growth. Some people do not go through growth, they go through depression, but some people go through growth. And so we took some courses on trauma support and burn survivor peer support. And really part of getting through your trauma is telling your story. Nobody likes their scars, but we're trying to bring a different perspective. Now, we're not trying to placate people because they do not like that. So it's a mix of compassion, understanding, but also saying, you know something, if you did not heal, you would not be here. So your strength is within your scars. You're a strong person for getting this far. And they start to look at themselves differently. And my favorite story is this little girl that everybody walks in camp, they're very intimidated. Well, this one little girl was hiding it, it was on her neck. And after her piece was done, she was walking around going to everybody, look at this, feel this. Now feel my necklace. It's the same. Now she was 6 years old at the time, and her mom, it was a high. That was the moment of like, yes, this is doing what it's supposed to be doing, which is uplifting people and helping them change their perspective a little bit from, I really am like a strong, resilient person. Every single class I've taught has been so positive. So that is fuel. That's definitely fuel to continue to do it.
I just have so much respect for you and for Chris and for the work that you've done in that community. It's really a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing it. Well, I'm going to switch gears and talk about another thing that you're known for, which is developing new techniques and creating classes around them. It's this thread that's been all through our interview of asking why and wanting to figure out things, figure out how things work. So if someone wanted to see like your greatest hits of techniques and classes, what would you point them to? What would be on that playlist?
That's a hard one. I have my favorites that I like to teach, but I can tell you the most popular ones are my bezel setting like a pro and romancing the stone. It's a great way to add color to your pieces, and I've got a really easy way of figuring out the shrinkage and stuff like that where the stone fits every time, and you're not doing a whole bunch of repair because of distortion and whatnot. So that's the most popular one. The one that I like teaching a lot is whimsical critters because they're funny. And I am teaching them, uh, all my classes have a design component to it because I there's not a lot of people that teach that. I try to separate myself from the crowd by doing, but I like design. I like good design and I like teaching it. So part of that class is teaching how do you do a whimsical critter? Like how do you go about telling that story without standing there telling that story? So facial expressions, props, things like that. So which is a fun class.
So last fall, you were awarded the 2024 AMCAW Innovation Grant for your work with the testing the fire and place opals. So first of all, what are fire and place opals?
Well, they're a heat resistant opal that can
Okay.
take up to 900 Celsius or 1650 Fahrenheit. And in the back of my head, I think I'm a little inventor inside. If I had a lot of money, I'd be dangerous. But I saw these and I was like, there's got to be a way to put them in jewelry because I hadn't seen anybody do that. So I commenced on testing. And so it was a lot of trial and error. It ended up being an easy solution, but I was getting some cracking and hazing and just different things. And there was a couple of times I put them in and one side would haze, but one side wouldn't. So then I was like, okay, what's the difference here? Vermiculite. So it ended up being somewhat of a simple solution. However, it took me a while to get there. So I started documenting all of the testing. Every bit of the testing is on a blog, on my blog, like from beginning to end, talking about what it could do, what it couldn't do, where I was going. And then other artists started jumping in and doing some testing for me because I don't use base metals as much anymore. And so some people were testing those. And then I had a woman that does sand casting. And so I knew that I really thought if they could go in metal clay, they could be cast. And I went to her because I don't sand cast, but I thought to myself, for metal clay artists, we had these big piles of sandy mist from all of our sanding. And I was like, wouldn't it be great to be able to sand cast something from our little particles? And you can. So I was really excited about that. They had it all. They were safe, they were sustainable. There's no child labor or forced labor to make them. So it seemed like a win-win to me. And to be able to fire them right in place, you got me hooked.
So you have,
Yeah.
Holly, a history of entering competitions and challenges, list of awards on your website. It is a long list. And notably, it includes a second place finish in the metal clay category in the very prestigious Saul Bell Design Award for 2015, back when they had a metal clay category. Besides the glow of being recognized for your work, what benefits have you gained by stepping up and participating in these competitions and challenges?
Well, I think it's about showing up. In a prior career, I did graphic and design work, and all I did was office forms. And I was like, that's because all I was doing was going to these small businesses and doing small things. And then one time I approached somebody a lot bigger. For me, it was Sunoco, who was a gasoline company. And I got the job and it was like such a different class for me. I got to do interesting things. And so I guess the point of it is nothing ventured, nothing gained. And so I like the challenge of them, but I also like pushing myself. Like that's the thrill for me in when developing a new class. I know that if I'm going to develop something new, it's got to be different. It can't be like everybody else is teaching. How do how do I push? So it's pushing myself also. It's pushing my creativity. If I could come up with something new and cool, then, I've pushed my creativity, but then I could push other people in that area to try something new. So it's really that challenge of trying something new. And if they have a prize, well, that's sort of fun. So, yeah, it's really trying it, going for it. And, I suggest that everybody do that because when you say no, well, when you say no before they say no, well, the answer is always no. But if you try, there's a maybe in there, there's a possible yes in there.
So we talked at the beginning of this conversation about how your first experiences with metal clay were not so awesome. And it was a very different landscape then, right? You didn't have a lot of books, you didn't have a lot of videos, you had the Yahoo group and artists trying to help each other figure it out. We also didn't have as many options for materials back then. So, flash forward to where we are today in 2025. What advice would you give to a newcomer that's in their very early days of exploring metal clay?
I suggest like I would take a class. It will bypass a lot of it's drying out on me, it's crumbling, it's not, you know, there's so many nuances to it. If you take a class, that's going to be helpful. The next thing is to try things out, get your hands dirty.
Excellent. Great advice. Holly, what closing thoughts do you have for us today?
I really, really love the metal clay community. I mean, it may sound overblown to say it's changed my life, but in so many ways it has. Um, Not only through my career, but personally, like when my family was having a difficult time surrounded by the burn accident and things like that. I mean, this community rallied, and I am so grateful for that. I'm so grateful to be a part of it. I have not met a nasty person in the bunch, and every single one of them, I love teaching. I get to be around the people I enjoy. I get to work with the material I enjoy. There's nothing negative about it. And so I've been lucky in that respect. And AMCAW is doing a wonderful job bringing people together and providing resources and also acknowledging me, which is really sweet. Um, and the others that have come before me. And that's just really very special to be honored by the people that I feel so fondly about.
Well, Holly, on behalf of the Alliance for Metal Clay Arts Worldwide, thank you. Thank you for all that you've done for metal clay artistry, for metal clay education, for the metal clay community. This honor was well deserved. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks. I was surprised.
Okay, thank you all so much. I hope you enjoyed that video. I really enjoyed the interview with Holly. As you can tell, she's just fun to talk to. And I've seen it several times as we've gone through the edits, and I just keep having these little moments of like, I keep hearing different things. So that video is going to be posted on our website, I'm sure very soon now that the information is public. So thank you so much for being with us for this announcement. Holly, thank you for being such just an amazing force in the metal clay community. I don't know if you've watched the chat and all of the comments, but you probably ought to take a look because there's some really lovely comments in there and a lot of love for you from the community. And we just wish you well and hope that you all enjoy the rest of your day at Metal Clay Live. Have fun out there.